It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielsen, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Two Guys and a Goalie, episode 326, brought to you by our great partners at Coolbet Canada, where if you want to get moving early here on some NHL futures, the Stanley Cup odds are up and online at Coolbet. When you sign for an account, use the code 2GUYS, you can get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to 200 smackaroos. Guys, how was the weekend?
It was good. It was good. I was telling you guys, I went to the NF concert in Edmonton with my wife and a bunch of our friends that were in town and some other friends that were from here. And I got real dressed up. So I wore all white and turned it into, like, I just made a mockery. Like, I think one of the highlights, I didn't even tell you guys this yet. One of the highlights, at least for everybody else, was like I was walking around like I was like a thug, like gangster, like everywhere. We had, my buddy brought those like wraparound Viper, like pit Viper, like wraparound shades for us all to wear because he had a bunch. So I had like the wraparound shades on, wearing all white, like exactly like the guy that was doing the show, and just walking around being an idiot. I'm like, I'm probably going to see people I know. They're probably going to see me, but I don't care. I'm just having fun. So I was like walking in front, and so like all my wives and everyone else is like staying well behind me because they don't want to be associated with me at all. And so I'm like walking like I'm all gangster, and then my earplugs fell out of my pocket. So they just start, because I had earplugs. I'm like, because I never know how loud they're going to be. So I always, and I didn't wear them, but I always bring earplugs because I'm like, if this feels like it's going to be hurting my ears, like I'll just throw some earplugs in. Total dad move, right? Because I am a total dad, and it's how I do. But I was just, because of the act I was putting on of just being an idiot, I just got shredded the rest of the night by everybody.
As you should.
As I should, deservedly so. But they just absolutely continue to rip into me for the rest of the night. It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny.
Did you tell us before we went on you had a buddy named Bud?
Yeah.
Like, is that his nickname, or did his parents name him Bud? Oh, okay.
That's his nickname.
Like, wow,
yeah.
Okay.
Right. Everyone, that's like, everyone knows him as that. That's not his birth given name, but
like that's what people call him now.
That's
like,
what everyone is calling him.
Would people call him Bud?
No, they call him Bud. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everyone would. Yeah. Yeah.
And then you were at the Elks game.
Then so I'm tired because it was like a full weekend because it was a whirlwind because they were here, like our friends came in on Friday, they left Sunday like early afternoon, and then we took the kids to the Elks game.
You got to witness history.
Got to witness history. Man, I was so happy. Trey Ford, quick football talk though. Trey Ford looks really good.
He does look good, doesn't he?
Like he and not like Ottawa doesn't have a great defense, but still his ability at times to just to be that dual threat, right? Like where he can tuck and run and moves pretty good. I liked his game. Like it was a solid game from him. I was happy and just happy that
he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch. It was a great atmosphere there. They had the Grey Cup at halftime. Terry Vaughn.
Yep.
And then
it was so much better. It's so much better because I didn't have to go find Gager to serve me the wieners.
That's what I was gonna say. Gager's been sitting here quietly because he knows where this is going. Gager's been slinging weens at Commonwealth for the last 2 years. The team hasn't won since 2019. They'd never won at home as the Elks. And Gager, you were not there at your usual wiener hut yesterday. And as Cass mentioned before, like we're not sure you're allowed back at Commonwealth, buddy.
Gosh, if there was a day that my wiener needed a win, Dusty, and my wiener's gone winless for so long that it's really affecting me. So it's tough. I found myself cheering for Ottawa late and hoping that it wasn't my wiener the cause of all these issues with the Elks, but proof's in the pudding. I don't know. Maybe I have to move.
Your wiener has driven thousands away from Commonwealth for the last few years.
Well, it's a powerful wiener, but
you know what my wife did say though? Because we did, we had a little snack like for the girls before we left, but just with the timing, I'm like, they're going to be hungry. They're going to want food.
It's a supper time game.
Yeah, you're going to get food there. And so my wife was hungry too. So she's like, hey, give me a hot dog too. And so we got her a wiener. and she made a comment. She's like, you know what? Her words, I think, were, these hot dogs are really good here. Like, they have good hot dogs here. But how I heard it in my head were, these are great wieners. That's what, because anytime someone says hot dog now, I just think wieners because of how often we say wieners. And so it wasn't soggy. It wasn't too hot, wasn't cold. So whoever was dishing out the wieners in Gager's absence, I mean, Gager, you got some competition here.
Yeah,
the wiener game was still there, and they won. So Gager, I feel like you're in trouble here, man. You're in some serious wiener trouble.
Yeah, no, it's you're not lying, Cass. It's I don't know.
Your wiener's under a lot of pressure right now, Gager.
I'm going into wiener reconstruction for this until next game.
You know, I will.
We lost you, Dusty. We lost you all of a sudden. So we know you're saying something important. Yeah. So
Dusty's too much of a hand talker now, and he's
too much of a hand talker. Well, we're waiting. We're waiting for him to figure it out. I assume. No, we still can't hear you. I assume that he was just going to make more fun of you. So we can probably move on from the Elks thing, and maybe just jump in. So Gager, why don't you just start? When you saw that Auston Matthews signed a 4-year deal, what was the first thought that jumped in your head? So you saw he signed for 4 years. What was the first thought that went through your head?
The first thought was, gosh, he doesn't want to stay in Toronto that long. That was how because I just looked at the 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And then my second thought was that maybe that's a lot of money for 50 goals. Because
but how many guys score 50, Gager, or can?
I realize that, but I'm just saying that seems like a lot for a guy that hasn't really taken his game to that next level when it matters most in the playoffs. But I mean, you're gonna get really okay. He is the best goal scorer in the league right now, I think, right? Like he's one of the top three for sure. So with that amount of money, he helps you get into the playoffs. I guess that's what it costs, but it just seems like what does he come out at 29 and looking for another huge deal at that point? But it just seemed to me that he doesn't want to try to be that Toronto Maple Leaf that, I shouldn't say doesn't want to bring a cup, but just long term, I think this is the last 4 years we'll see, or 5 years we'll see with Auston Matthews.
Yeah, definitely, potentially. And that was one of the first thoughts that went through my head too. It's only 4 years. Like, he didn't sign an 8-year deal. He didn't sign a 7-year deal. The more I chewed on it, though, part of me was wondering, because I think Trevling is a fantastic GM. I think he does it, and we've seen that in really difficult situations.
Look at what he's done. Look at the players he's brought in. He's done a pretty good job.
Done a pretty good job already. He did, I thought, a great job in Calgary with what he was given and had the ability to do. I thought he did a great job there as well, especially with bringing in Gager and Huberdeau. And my thought with the Auston Matthews thing was like, no, you're back.
I'm back.
We moved on to Auston Matthews.
Gager, that was good. That was good.
Yeah. So I mean, the consensus between the two of us is the first thought that popped in our head, Dusty, was that Auston Matthews doesn't want to be in Toronto long term. That's why it's 4 years versus
I think that's
longer.
the only way you can view that, right?
But let me propose something else, though, because the more I chewed on it, and this is what I was just about at, and I just started pumping Trevling's tires for the job that he has done already there, and for the job he did towards the end in Calgary, I thought. What if this is a brilliant move by Trevling from a cap standpoint to say, he is still incredibly expensive, but inside of 4 years, we anticipate the cap to go up a certain amount, and we will all of a sudden have a significant amount of money to retain him, to where maybe the number, if they started pushing those years out longer, was too big. And even for Trevling, for him to say, okay, I've got 4 years now with this guy to try to win a cup. And just given how Toronto as a market generally is, as a GM, if he doesn't win a cup inside of 4 years, he's probably gone anyways. So,
Yeah, that's true.
so when I look at it, I go, okay, you locked him up for your window. Let's call it your window. This is your window, and you will have the hopefully the ability at that point to have a bigger cap where you could sign him again if you need to. So I wonder if there's a little bit of brilliance in here by Trevlink to actually get this done, to get some certainty with Matthews at a dollar number that you can sort of afford now, with the hope that the cap goes up. So I just there's a part of me that's like, I wonder if this deal actually ends up being better because of the length of time than maybe we initially looked at and thought it was, because it's like, oh, he's only going to be here. I mean, it's not like it's short term, but short term.
Is it a guarantee that the cap goes up next year? Like, I know there's talk about it, but is that like for sure?
Like, it's a small bump to this year, but I think like what Cass is saying is that projecting like in 4 years, it's probably up. You're hoping like 6-7 mil type of thing, right? Like,
yeah,
you better hope so.
yeah. Like, I find it interesting because when I first saw it, I immediately thought, wow, 4 years, see you later. He'll be leaving still in his prime, and we'll just cash another massive ticket. And that made me think, okay, well, he's out of here. But I mean, if you're Auston Matthews, this is an organization who just gave you a really good chunk for 4 years. You know, are you in a hurry to bail when they're going to be able to pay you even more for that next? Like, they've done him a favor here, basically, I guess, right? Like, that's how I view it. The Leafs are doing Auston Matthews a solid here right now, and that could be a situation where, you know, let's say they give him 8 years. That contract he's going to sign at the end of 8 is not going to be what he's going to sign 4 years from now. So they've basically done him a huge solid. And I wonder if that's part of, you know, if there's been that discussion, you know, where they say, look, we'll give you this big chunk now, make you the highest paid player in the league. And then guess what? In 4 years, they'll make him the highest paid player in the league again. So,
yeah,
you know, I think it's kind of like almost like a sign of good faith from the Leafs to Auston Matthews that, you know, we believe in you. We'll give you the 4 years and then we'll give you another 8-year deal when that one's up type of thing. Because if they're still one of the best teams in the league, which they might be if he's on it and Marner's still there and, you know, they continue to churn out victories in the regular season at least, you know, maybe there's not a huge rush for him to go back to the States. So it's not what I originally thought. When I originally thought, I was like, oh man, Leafs are getting hosed here. But I'm not too sure they are. Like, I feel like there's got to be more there if you're planning long term, right? That would make more sense to me, at least.
Especially when you're going to lose to Tampa in the first round next year, too.
Well, they did win a round, right? It was who was I talking to yesterday? I was talking to it's one of our producers last night after the football game. We went out for a couple of drinks, and he said he was driving with somebody out of Toronto when they won that first round. Like, they were on the phone with their family in tears, like in the car he was driving with. Like, the whole family was just. So they were just so excited to see it finally happen. So, yeah, Auston Matthews, like, we haven't chatted since the deal went down. I mean, Leon Draisaitl doesn't come in below that number, right, Cass? Like, that's got to be. I mean, that's your base level for Leon Draisaitl. He's accomplished a lot more than Auston Matthews. So
that's your base level. That's expensive. You got to. Yeah. I mean, for the Edmonton, I mean, it kind of pushes you to be like, yeah, cap. Hope the cap goes up. We better do a good job advertising to contribute to hockey related revenue as much as we can, so that we get this cap space, because it's going to be expensive.
That's going to. Can you have $30 million wrapped up in 2 guys? That's
Can you afford not to? Right? Like, that's tough. That's such a tough conversation to have. Like, I feel
you
like
can get a lot for Connor McDavid.
Oh my God, Gager! I know it's the end of the summer, but don't you ever say that again. Don't you ever say that again. Yeah. So you see Matthews' number, you figure that's at least a starting point for Draisaitl, maybe right around the same number. If you're looking at weighing Auston Matthews and Connor McDavid on a value scale here, if Matthews comes in at what he did, I mean, what's the number? Like, to me, there's no comparable to Connor McDavid. Not Matthews, not Draisaitl. Like, McDavid is just in this elevated level of his own. So to me, there's no, like, why would anybody look and say, well, Auston Matthews got no, you're Connor McDavid. You should be able to dictate whatever you want. So, Cass, what's that contract end up looking like?
I mean,
outside of
it's
partial ownership in the franchise. Like,
it's got to cost like 14 schmil, doesn't it? At least.
oh, at least. Buddy,
At today's dollars.
I'm thinking like. I mean, he should be worth the max. Whatever the max is, he should be worth the max.
Yeah.
And you just hope that he doesn't take the max so they can have another third line winger or
Well,
something. Right?
that's just it, right? Like you yeah. I mean, that's you have to hope he takes some form of a discount because he wants to win, and you've already won one, and maybe he wants to win more. Like it kind of is.
Okay, so let's say you're
Yeah,
signing
that's
100. Let's just ballpark a number, 100 and just for whatever, $120 million contract. How much of that would you be willing to sacrifice to win a Stanley Cup? You know, like to take that little bit of a discount. You already got 120 million. He's already got over 100 million. Like it's like I guess how much of that? Like Tom Brady always in the National Football League, right? He made a lot of money in other areas and sponsorships and all this stuff. So he would take team friendly deals to try to continue to build winners. It's a big time conversation on how you weigh these two things, right? Especially when you're on a team that legitimately should be a Stanley Cup contender, if not having already won one by the time this contract's up.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about this at the golf tournament, Cass. Like how much it almost becomes a question is how much do you want to spend when you're done playing hockey per month is how you could almost break it down and come to a different arrangement. Didn't Sidney Crosby kind of take a little bit of a haircut too at one point when he was considered the best player in the league? And I think there has to be put it this way. If they haven't won a cup before Connor McDavid's next deal, I think they can give them the max if they've won one. They've already done it. But if they haven't, Connor and Leon, I think at this point are going to have to look at maybe a little bit of a sacrifice to be able to ice a fuller roster of good players that can compete for a Stanley Cup at that point. Because you're depending on the cap, you're going to handcuff your GM so much if you both are like I said, commanding about 30 million in cap room. It's going to make it very difficult to fill the holes that you're going to need to be competitive in the playoffs.
That's why a lot of those teams have success when they got guys on entry level deals, right? Like the guys who haven't cashed the big one yet, which I mean, I guess it's a great problem to have because you've got all the talent in the world, but it's also a horrible problem to have in a cap-driven league, right? That makes things extremely, extremely difficult. So, yeah, we'll see how that ends up playing out. But Auston Matthews getting that big ticket on a 4-year deal for now, and we'll be having these conversations next offseason with Leon Draisaitl as well as he creeps closer to free agency. You did mention there, Gager, we were at a golf tournament last Thursday, all three of us together in person for the first time in quite some time. And it was a great event. Damon Bunting, who signed on to do some sponsorship stuff with Edmonton Sports Talk, hosted us. You're playing a lot of tournaments. It's like 100, 124 guys. We had 7 groups, 28 people, kind of like this little exclusive little sort of charity event, which was awesome. Lots of money was raised for a great association. And we had probably the best golf tournament dinner in the history of golf tournament.
I literally told my wife that. I told her that. I told her that when I got home. I'm like, that was the best golf tournament dinner I have ever had.
Yeah. Like,
Ever.
Not even close. And look, I will say this. A lot of golf courses around here who do tournaments put together great meals. Not taking anything away from it. But Damon had the keg catering this thing. And we had the steak, we had the lobster, and we had just a delicious baked potato. But I had to ask Gager how to eat the lobster because I'm serious. I was just like, well, how'd the meat end up here on top of the tail? And then Gager, what do you say? They turned it inside out or whatever?
Yeah,
you just flip it inside out.
Flip it inside out and just slice it down the middle. I even had Dusty crushing shrimp. He was,
he did have me eating shrimp
and the shrimp cocktail, and Dusty goes, "That's actually delicious." So, our little boy's coming along, Cass. We're expanding his palate. It won't be long. I think I'm smelling a segment in there. What Dusty won't like at the new studios. So
turns out I might be a big seafood guy. I never would.
Yeah,
known,
you might.
You
Might be. Well, we should get some maybe an outdoor barbecue, some sort of thing going, and Dusty can try a bunch of foods, and that'd be great.
I mean, if
That'd
they're
be
done by
awesome.
the keg, it'd probably be pretty good.
Yeah. But that was ridiculous. Like I remember getting it and feeling, there's steak and lobster at this thing, and I remember grabbing the plate. And actually, like, it sunk. It was so heavy. I was like, oh my gosh! And I couldn't. I sprinted back to the table to get into this thing. Sorry for being kind of.
Well, you went and got me a steak knife because I.
Oh yeah, because Dusty will try to cut it with a butter knife. So I got him a
nice
steak
of you.
knife.
Yeah. But yeah, usually at a golf tournament steak, it's just just kind of a little thinner, sort of flatter steak. This was a full-blown, ridiculous keg steak. It was delicious. So, yeah, thanks to Damon Bunting for having us out for that golf tournament out at Broadmoor. I actually contributed some pretty decent shots, guys. I'm not going to lie. I was pretty happy with it. And then I went down to Lethbridge for a fantasy hockey draft, and we got into the sauce pretty good. We didn't even start the hockey draft till 10:30 on Friday night. Didn't finish it till about 3 a.m. But I've had Connor McDavid in that league since he came in. So I'm the back-to-back defending champ. And I did select Connor Brown, and I was pretty fired up about it. I was like, here we go. Connor Brown could have a good year. Do you guys think they lock him in with McDavid, like, to start the year? Or what do you do with this guy? They've got the relationship.
Yeah.
Like, is he penciled in on the top line to start the season? I would think so.
He has to be. He has to be. I mean, that's where you're gonna see a lot of it in preseason when they play together, and you have to run with that in camp. I mean, you have to. So that's what you brought him in for. That's what you're gonna try to see if it fits, and to see if it fits right away.
So is this the top six? And I didn't want to get into an Oilers top six discussion today, but if Brown plays with, is it Kane, McDavid, and Brown, Nuge, Draisaitl, Hyman? I think that's probably what they roll out to start the year.
Would make that. I think you look at that first.
Yeah, I think that's
that's pretty good.
It is, and then you can also move guys around like crazy in that group, right? Draisaitl will play with McDavid on the wing, Nuge can play in the middle, Hyman can flip around. So yeah, there's a lot of versatility in the top six, but that's probably what it'll look like. So,
because that's Kane after I think we're going to see some big things from Evander Kane this year.
You think so? Like if he stays healthy, like 40 goals or something? It's just tough because he's not on that PP1, right? Like that's where you get a lot of gravy.
I know, but you're just going to see a guy that's healthy, recovering. He's used to Edmonton now. He's solidified, I think, his place in the dressing room. I think there's a comfort factor that takes a little bit of time. You don't see a lot of players come in and have massive impacts. I'm not saying it was bad to start, but I just think just being a little bit more comfortable. Also with Ekholm, I mean, that guy's so comfortable here. I think he's going to retire here. But
yeah, it looks like it. Yeah.
You got guys that are getting used to the city. And I was talking about this with Cass. I was like, God, I can't remember another time. Like I look back to last year, and I was looking forward to the season, but I'm excited about this NHL season popping up to see what the Oilers are going to do. I mean, there's some different pieces, but the sour taste of last year, I think, is going to help tremendously with them establishing themselves, hopefully in that first section and first 25 games of the year.
All right. On Thursday, what we'll do is I'm going to put together some questions on Thursday to tease our top 50, and then we'll roll this out in September. So I'll bring in some of the bigger questions because we were texted. Did we do top 30 last year or top 50? I feel like we did
50.
We did 50. Okay, perfect. Well, that'll be a great month of content actually, as we criticize Cass having a bunch of guys way too high on the list. So that'll be good. Plus, the Elks will be in playoff contention at that time, so we'll have to talk about that.
Not if my wiener's get in that building.
Not if your wiener goes in and just disrupts things again. Yeah, man, it was a great time in that football game. That was a lot of fun. Cass, did you kids stay out? Did you guys go down on the field after, or did you?
We
bail?
did. Yeah.
Yeah, we were down
did.
there too.
We weren't sure just because of the entirety of their weekend in the last week.
That's a long day when they've had a long weekend and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, we're probably, well, I shouldn't say we're. My wife is probably paying the price for it today. But yes, we stayed the whole. They really wanted to go down on the field, and just because my dad still with them, so he loved being able to run out there too and have them out there, and so they had a blast. I mean, I know
Marshall was running routes. He's like, we had a ball we were throwing, and it was fun.
Yeah, I feel like, they kind of like Edmonton, the baseball team here, the Riverhawks, like they do that for all their games, and I think with the turnout that they had and the success that they had, that's probably where the idea came from. And like, hey, why don't we do a day where we can do this?
Yeah,
and it was awesome. I mean, you really, for the Elks, it's like you can do that a couple times a year. And if families know you can do that, it's a huge incentive to stay and eat more of Gager's wieners. So,
it
was a blast.
When my mic died last time, I was going to ask you, Gager, what do you guys do to the buns? Because we golfed on Saturday. My one buddy turned 40 down left Saturday, so we went and played Picture Butte Golf Course out there. And at the turn, we got a dog. Wiener was great, but the bun was huge. It was I was furious. I threw out the bun. I just ate the wiener. I was like, how can you, who's on hot dog control out here? You got to know the bun is significantly important in this overall conversation. But the thing I like about Commonwealth is those buns are like right around the wiener, steamed right in there. So what's that can you tell? Is it a secret, or can you tell me the
secret process?
Yeah,
there is a process to wrapping your wiener, and you got to wrap it tight, Dusty. And it's taken me a long time to kind of figure out how to wrap my wieners correctly so it's the bun still stays moist and and you don't get that soggy wiener, right? You don't just a nice warm wiener with that soft bun, I tell you. But yeah, you got to fold those edges and get them tight. That's the big thing. Yeah, and you don't want them in the heat rack too long too. You have them in the warmer. You don't want them sit, because those heat racks are just. I got burn marks on my arms from touching these things. So there is a process. Obviously, it doesn't really matter. I mean, Cass said the wieners were good without me, so now I'm really feeling quite inefficient with my wiener game and everything. So it's gonna be a long week.
All right, that's going to do it for us. I'll talk to you guys on Thursday. Two Guys and a Goalie, brought to you by our great partners over at CoolBet. Get ready for betting on the NHL season, which is just over a month away. Should be pretty exciting. They got some futures over there right now, and of course, if you like to bet on the NFL, our guys at CoolBet will have you taken care of there. Guys, we'll start to tease and dive into the early stages of some big questions we have heading into our top 50 release in September. We'll talk to you then.
Perfect.
Sounds good.